Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we would go racing with B-class cars that weighed more than 4,000 pounds. So, quite a heavyweight battle. This one, yes, the Gremlin does weigh more than 4,000 pounds. Turns out with a V8 Hemi engine, they can get quite heavy. I mean, there's an assortment of interesting cars. You know, there are the big, larger saloon cars. There's a Volvo Estate involved in this. There's a Range Rover. I was driving the new Chevy Colorado, various pickup trucks, the Transit involved, along with some classic muscle cars. There's an Aston Martin hanging around somewhere. In fact, as the Range Rover runs a little bit wide, there goes the Aston Martin finding a way past. I mean, we are well known for having strange combinations of vehicles going racing, but I definitely think today might be one of the weirdest. Might be one of the weirdest, as the Range Rover is now trying to outdrag the Aston Martin up towards the top of the hill. You really don't want to be going too wide through that corner. The Transit of a wheel on the dirt. The Transit comes off worst of the little group. The Aston Martin would get past. The Range Rover's trying to buy into that one, as well as they all try to break down into the corkscrew. The Aston can't quite get his vehicle slow down, ends up jumping down through the gravel. The Transit's out wide on the exit. It's a mad start to the race. Up the front, and it was an 850 that was leading the way. Second, a modern Audi. With third, another BMW. Now, of course, the big saloon cars were probably the sensible way. They're probably the more sensible way to go in terms of this race. The M5 here with plenty of straight line speed, able to get past the Audi before they got to the first corner. The Audi having a little bit of a look, sort of tried to get the nose up the inside for the exit out of that turn, although even if he had, it wouldn't have mattered so much. The BMW was very, very quick accelerating. Further back, in the weird collection of cars continued with a Daytona battling with the Volvo Estate and a VW Touareg, and there was a Jeep Wagoneer not that far behind them, the Aston Martin in this little group. The Daytona gets the good run up towards the top of the hill. Now, you really don't want to be going too wide through this corner. It's a breathe-in moment, especially with cars as large as this, all trying to slot into line together. The Daytona does a good job of getting the passes, then having a look up the inside of the Touareg. Can't quite do it. The Touareg can't get stopped. In the end, the Volkswagen goes for a dive into the sand trap, and, well, you would see a few cars. It's quite common, in fact, to see a few cars end up in trouble out there. The Volvo gets stuck on the outside of the Aston Martin, who would end up losing that place as well. Back towards the front, and the 850 would hold on to its lead. The M5 tried to get a move around the outside going, couldn't pull it up in time for the corkscrew either. That would drop the BMW back into this rather large group of cars fighting for position. They go three wide almost, heading up towards the next corner. BMW gets a big slide. The Pontiac ends up giving the Land Rover a nudge. The Land Rover's across the grass, or across the dirt, doesn't really lift as they head back towards the final corner of this lap, and it would be in all of that the Land Rover that would come out the other side ahead up into a third place. It turned out the SVR was actually a seriously quick car amongst these vehicles. The BMW would be able to outdrag the Pontiac on the run down towards, or almost outdrag the Pontiac down towards the first corner. The Pontiac had got the grip to try and make life difficult around the outside there. The BMW with the drive would get that position. Unfortunately, a laggy bump between the Range Rover and the Audi would dump the pair of them down the field, which would leave the Pontiac then having to try and fend off from a Chrysler and a Buick. The Buick GSX was actually doing quite well in all of this, and this was becoming the fight for third place. This would rage actually for a remaining half of the race. The Chrysler, perhaps the slightly faster of the two cars, but just couldn't quite get a pass completed. And of course, as soon as you start fighting like this, you really slow yourself down. The Chrysler briefly got this vehicle clear, but then gets stuck on the outside for the next couple of turns. The Pontiac's going to make his way back past as they head down another short straight. The Buick is kind of stuck watching a little bit. When you've got cars going too wide up ahead, it is not very easy, and there's not very many places you can put your vehicle to try and make progress. The Buick tries to get a good run up the hill, doesn't quite have the straight line speed of that Chrysler, so they all have to just fall back into line. The Chrysler's not quite able to just out-accelerate the Pontiac at any point. Again, up towards the corkscrew, everyone is very, very even down there, and they couldn't get any passes done. And it wasn't long before these guys had fought each other so much that a transit had come to get involved. In fact, Pontiac able to escape away a little bit further up as the Buick continued to look for a way past that Chrysler. They're both going side by side through these corners. The Transit is right there, but again, much like previous, where the Buick couldn't find a way past because cars are fighting, the Transit can't either. Although, when the Buick and Chrysler try going too wide, just the smallest of taps between the pair of them, they're both out wide, they're both slow, and it is the Transit with the speed up towards the corkscrew, and amazingly, the Transit on the brakes can just about get the van stopped to get the move completed on that Buick. The Range Rover recovering was catching these guys, but not quite able to do much about getting up to them to effect a pass. Still, the Chrysler was there having a look around the back of the Buick. The Transit would hold on to that position. At the front, it was a much calmer affair, with the two BMWs. The M5 having had its off, at the corkscrew, lost some time while it was catching towards the end of the race, ran out of laps to do anything about the 850. So, yeah, the 850 would go on to claim a victory. The Pontiac would get a third place, fending off the Chrysler for a while. My Chevy, I got a little bit unlucky, and this circuit didn't quite suit the Colorado. I didn't quite have the overall pace with the pickup truck. Race number 2, and we would head off to the Sonoma Short Circuit, a track that I was looking forward to in my much more handling-orientated Chevy. Yeah, I had many corner grips, which is weird for a pickup truck, but was struggling massively in a straight line. This track, while it's not exactly slow corners around here, you are almost constantly dealing with medium and higher speed corners, something that I was looking forward to in the pickup truck. Leading the way initially was an AMC, although that was coming under big pressure from a BMW 850, and sure enough, that Pacer would end up out wide with nowhere to go. And when that door opened a little bit, the Pontiac wants to have a go up the inside. The AMC try wider line, not quite going to work through all of that. The Pacer falls back to third place in towards the clutches of a Maserati. My Chevy had a pretty nice grid spot in all of this, and had a good start as well to make it up towards this kind of top 5. Further back, again, opening lap is always going to be a busy, busy time. This Ford Falcon had got to kind of the back of the Maseratis. The Maserati start going to fight with that Gremlin. They're going to go side by side on the way up the hill. Now, once more, you see the problem. The Ford just runs into traffic. There's nowhere to go as they get to the top of the hill. The Audi behind them actually gets the best run of all of them while everybody's busy tripping over one another. The Maserati gets swamped from both sides. The Audi gets 2 cars in one corner. A great overtake from the Audi. The Ford's still stuck, having to try and go the long way around the Maserati. A G-Wagon has come to join in the party. Mercedes tries to get to the inside. Again, can't get the move completed on the Maserati, but the poor Ford has been stuck on the outside of 2 corners going 3 wide, and that's not going to help in terms of whether your lap time or indeed in terms of your position. Has an opportunity to try and get a move done back on that G-Wagon as they head to the very fast left-hander, and the Mercedes will not want to be out wide through all of that as they go too wide, though the muscle car behind the Chevelle has got a massive run down towards the final corner. The straight line speed of that is enough to see it get past the Falcon, and once more the poor Ford is stuck on the outside line around the hairpin. The Chevy's gone. The Mercedes, with all of its straight line speed, with all of its power, was able to get the Ford before they come back across the line again. Poor Falcon getting stuck on the outside of all the wrong corners, and yeah, just nothing you can do once you get stuck out there. Just the reams of cars that want to get past. There is so little that you can do other than once they're all past, try and get back into the action. Now, someone had been very brave indeed, in bringing the Mercedes racing truck. Now, PI-wise, yeah, B-Class is not too bad a overall place for the truck to be, and it was actually doing surprisingly well. That's to the inside at the final corner on a Maserati. It is not very often that you see a racing truck go past a modern Maserati. That's, yeah, I don't think that's probably ever been ever been done on a racetrack. However, yeah, the race truck was actually working very well around this. At the end of the day, yeah, it's a full-on racing vehicle, and they are not that bad to drive. While they are big, they are heavy vehicles. They are not that bad at all to drive around these circuits. The Transit was also catching up to that Maserati as well. I was up into second place and putting continual pressure on the leading Pontiac. I was continuing to have issues with the straight line speed of my pickup. Very, very quick through the corners, and I kept getting into good positions. However, as you see, as we run over the top of the hill, I've got a huge amount of speed. However, it's that acceleration. I can carry the corner speed, but I can't quite draw alongside at the right places. Now, this went on for a couple of laps, with me looking every which way I could to try and find a way past Pontiac. I knew if I could get past it, I could pull away. I knew I had the speed that if I could get past it, I would be able to pull away, because when I'm carrying, or can carry, so much more corner speed, I can't do that when I'm following a car. You're being compromised constantly through all the bits that my truck is strong at, and I don't really compromise the Pontiac when we get to the straighter bits where that car is stronger. So yeah, I was having to work very, very hard in trying to find a way. The Pontiac out a little bit wide through that left-hander is the opportunity that I wanted in the Chevy. I get to the inside as we run around the hairpin. The BMW is catching the pair of us as we started to fight. The tiniest of little bumps between us as we leave the hairpin. The Pontiac goes to the outside. Unfortunately for me, I turn in just that smidge too much. It's a big, big spin. Clip the wall. It's an easy, annoying thing to do here at Sonoma. Amazingly, nobody else collects the spinning truck. I don't know how the BMW avoided the spinning Chevy. It's been done many times before. Definitely not the first, and certainly won't be the last to do that when running too wide and you just cut it a little bit too far. I would have been fine had there not been a car on the outside either, but yeah, just pinged off the wall, and that would send the Chevy for a spin, which is a big shame for me at least, because the Colorado was very fast here. It was very, very fast indeed. Third place, there would be a battle between an Audi and a Chevelle, with that Chevrolet going for a little bit of an off, I'll say a little bit, just a smidge, a wheel on the grass through that fast left-hander. This particular race, we did see the field spread out. Sometimes you have this at Sonoma, sometimes you get very close races, sometimes you see the field a little bit more spread out. The Chevy would close, the Audi would then pull away through the next section. You've got a lot of these. There were a lot of cases of cars kind of following vehicles closely for a while without quite being able to ever get in the right position to get an overtake. One of the more bizarre battles, in fact perhaps one of the most bizarre battles in Versus the Community history, would be the fight over 5th place between a Mercedes truck and a Mercedes G-Wagon. That's probably never been said before. Certainly not for up for 5th place. They were actually running pretty well. They were running pretty well indeed in all this. Not quite as fast as the leaders. My Colorado had fallen back behind, having suffered damage in the clonk on the wall. I didn't really have very much in the way of brakes, which made life quite difficult. The G-Wagon was really struggling to find a way past. Try to look around the outside of that truck. The problem is the truck was carrying very, very good speed. The G-Wagon is notoriously difficult to get them handling very well. The G-Wagon had a lot of acceleration, would be one of the faster vehicles down any sort of straights, but you don't get them here. There isn't really that much straight to be able to out-accelerate, especially when the truck is able to make the most of the corners. It would probably be a little bit difficult for the truck to find a way past the G-Wagon had it been the other way around, because, the G-Wagon will be compromising the truck where it's fast. But this way around, this time it's the truck's turn to be fast enough through the corners. And again, I admit that's a weird thing to be saying, but fast enough around the corners to be far enough away when it gets to any points that the Mercedes G-Wagon can use its speed. At the front, with my Colorado in the wall and dropped back, the Pontiac would have to keep his wits about him. It wasn't a massive margin of victory over the 850, setting very similar lap times between the pair of them. The Chevelle would make his way up into third, but a little bit too far back to really do anything about this this kind of lead pair. I'm annoyed with myself for bidding the Chevy, because I certainly had an opportunity to get that Colorado to the front of the field, but there we go. I would, though, have one of the closest finishes of the lot as I fought with the Pacer and a Transit. Very, very difficult getting my car stopped, and it didn't really handle very well. However, I was going to give it a damn good go into the final corner. I desperately try and bring the Colorado under control. The Pacer's gone wide through that turn. It's now the drag race towards the line with the Pacer on that outside line. The Pacer a little bit faster than our two huge vehicles in terms of straight line speed. He would get the 6th. The Transit would get the 7th, while I would end up in 8th. Yeah, little bit of a shame. Little bit of a shame for my poor Colorado. A very, very quick truck around this oval. I had fastest lap by about half a second, if not a little bit more. It was a monstrously quick truck, but silly mistake by me would prove costly. Our final race, and we would head to Mugello. A interesting track, this one. Certainly for me, with the prospects of my Colorado. Yeah, there are some very long straights down here, but there are also some very fiddly sections. There are some very fiddly sections where you are going to want some good handling. Turn 1 is rather wide. A Transit got a tag from behind, very sideways in front of the field. I, coming from pretty much the back of the field, made up heaps of places. I made up stacks of places because I hugged the inside all the way through turn 1, and when the Transit got turned, it kind of backed everybody up behind. Well, as I got turned, it got tagged sideways and just backed the entire field up behind, and I could skate past on that inside line, making up stacks of positions. So yeah, very, very good start for me. I would be trying to fight my way past, and Impala would get that move done now alongside with an 850 as we head down the next couple of corners. Got the move done on the BMW, and Audi put a wheel out wide on the curb. And again, those sort of, you just make up the positions where you can. I'm alongside a G-Wagon again. The Colorado's got the grip to go around the outside of the Mercedes, although that's a scary, scary point, especially on the opening lap. You're on cold tyres, you're not quite sure where you're going to have the grip in the vehicles. It would be able to hold it around the outside. It's holding it around the outside again for the next corner in the hope that put me to the inside for the next part. I could finally get the move clear. The Mercedes, though, massively fast in that acceleration department. The Range Rover fighting with a BMW, and it would be the G-Wagon to the inside, once again having to try and go the long way around in the Colorado, eventually just asking too much of the vehicle. Further back, a BMW M5 that had been sort of stacked up in that opening corner. Shenanigans was trying to work his way back through the order, would get to the inside of an 850. Or when you get to the inside through turn 1, you're always then going to be stuck, unless you can sort of really out-accelerate on the exit of that first corner. You're going to be stuck on the outside for the entry into the next little bit of a chicane. Makes it quite difficult getting passes sort of completed sometimes through turn 1. And again, through these next chicanes, they're not the easiest of places to overtake, as we certainly found out when we were racing with the Abarths. In these sort of cars, and certainly at the full layout of Mugello, little bit easier to get pass completed, but there we go. The leader was miles clear in the Ford Falcon. You just saw it blasting through shot there, having started, I think, on pole, or certainly at the very front, able to escape while the rest of the shuffling was going on. A Volvo running in second place was now coming under threat from a Range Rover. The problem with the Volvo, while fairly decent through the corners, although a little bit of a mistake in that final turn, ran a bit too wide, letting the Range Rover pass. Yeah, while fairly good through the corners, seriously lacked straight line speed, and the Range Rover will be able to power its way away down that start-finish straight. Further back, however, it was not nice and calm in any way, shape or form. A big, angry group of cars were fighting. Now, this was for around and about the 10th place in the field. There's a lot of cars vying for a very small bit of tarmac through turn 1. A lot of vehicles going too wide. A Ute ends up out in trouble out wide on the exit. Just about gets away with things, though, as they're going to make it 3 wide into the chicane. The Ute still determined. The Ute does not want to give up on the position in the end. I think the Ute runs out of grip across the gravel. The Ferrari's fighting back. The Chrysler is... no, the Ute's still there. The Chrysler's now trying to get along the outside. They're 3 wide again into this chicane. The Lincoln is currently leading this little group. The Buick is trying to go around the outside. Actually gets a very, very good run on the BMW as sweeps past it before they get to the quick downhill left-hander. This is a nasty section. Nasty section again, especially considering we're driving big, heavy cars in this one. Everything is over that £4,000. And in terms of Forza, in terms of the normal cars you would see us racing in Forza, these are big, big, heavy cars. The Buick was a little bit slow through one of those corners. The BMW's having a look, but he's not quite able to get the pass completed. In fact, makes himself slow off the corner and gets under fire from the Chrysler. A little bit further up, a little bit calmer, but still not a huge amount, as the G-Wagon continued to sit ahead of my Colorado. The BMW M5 was getting involved. My poor Chevy was able to make up huge time through the corners, but having no luck, because as soon as we got close enough, we'd then come to a straight, and then everything would bugger off again, and I was going a little bit exploring. That also doesn't really help matters. The Volvo, while continuing to run relatively high up at this stage, was coming under more and more threat. Had slipped to 4th place after a Mustang had got past, was now having a G-Wagon go soaring past down towards turn 1, and the BMW catching very, very quickly by the time they get under brakes. It is a big dive, a good move though from the BMW. In fact, the G-Wagon is seriously struggling with the corner, and 5 gets 2 places in 1 turn. Very helpful when the awkward Mercedes SUV manages to end up a little bit wide on its own accord. Makes life much easier for the BMW moving up into that 4th place. Further back, this large group of cars continued to squabble for position. The Impala would lead the group, the Lincoln in 2nd ahead of the Buick, and just a horde behind. Again, everyone looking for a way past where they can. As I said, it's not the easiest of circuits to get overtakes completed. The Buick gets a very good run on the exit of the chicane. He's going to have to go the long way around 1 turn. He will, though, get to the inside through the second part of that section. In doing so, compromises the Lincoln that little bit. The Chrysler is having a look now. With a lot of these sort of medium speed corners, you're not really braking a huge amount, so any big out-braking maneuvers are going to have to be done at turn 1 again as they head through this next corner. The Lincoln not really able to do too much through there, although the Buick is now busy trying to find a way past the Impala. That makes the Buick slow on the way into this next chicane. There's a little bit of bumping between. I think the Lincoln might got a little bit of a bump from the Chrysler. They all get through that, though, no problem. Still, they're stuck side by side up towards the next corner with nowhere for the Lincoln to go, although as that Buick gets the move completed, he leaves that little bit of a door open, and the Lincoln will say thank you very much and take the opportunity where he can. And the front, a much calmer race for the Falcon. Much calmer race indeed. Having got to the early on, you can run around in clean air, setting very, very quick lap times, and yeah, makes life very straightforward. I think the Ford had similar lap times, so like to the Range Rover in 2nd, the Mustang in 3rd, the BMW in 4th, but they took so long getting through the field to that point that it was a fairly straightforward time for the Falcon in the end of all of that. So on to the podium. BM Entice would take the victory, and Pega in 2nd with the Range Rover, while a Random Demon in 3rd with the Mustang. I apologise we didn't have podiums for the other 2 races. I crashed out of the lobbies in the kind of saving replay screens. It was a fun day of Forza connections. So yeah, the final race was the only one in which the kind of lobby screen was saved. I like my Colorado. I like my Chevy pickup very much. It's a handling vehicle. At the end of the day, it is a full out-and-out handling B-Class car, which I know is a really strange thing to say. Worked amazingly well at Sonoma. They were the fastest car at Sonoma against vehicles that you wouldn't expect it to be the fastest car against. Not quite so good at Laguna or Mugello. Anything with any sort of longish straights causes a little bit of a problem. I'm still annoyed, and I will at some point, whether it be a B-Class Chevy, whether it be a C-Class, I will get a Colorado to win a Versa community race. Because surprisingly, it is a very, very good truck. That, though, is going to be it for this week's Versus the Community. The next one is going to be held on Thursday, the 22nd of March. We're going to go racing with a nice open A-Class. If you want to sign up and take part in that, you can via our forums. There'll be a link in the description. Find the FailRace Versus the Community section, and you can sign up in there. However, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.